I put you on on the right screen, so I'm not looking into the camera because I have the code in front of me. I've sent you a link for the live share.
Excellent.
Sharing.
All right, looks like that is coming up. There we are.
Okay.
That was easy. It worked this time.
Okay. Well, we tried so many times. Yeah. Now you say that was easy. One day I will say historical modeling. Making the model is easy. Wait, let me show you perhaps. Yeah, we will perhaps do it like this. If I share my screen just to give you an image. Live. Yeah. You see that one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. That's just a print screen of a form in my current software. So in the console software, that's the software that is used by the dispatcher. Why I took a print screen? Because I just translated it because software is in Dutch. So to correspond to the model, perhaps you can take a print screen of that screen.
Okay.
So that you have it in front of you, because if we don't share that one, if I want to share the software itself, then it will be in Dutch.
I had to remember real quick how to do that in Windows. All right.
Alt print screen, not? No? If that is the Windows thing, I use a special tool for that, but you got a print screen of this one?
I've got it, yes.
Okay, and then let me share the software itself. I'm not sure. Share screen. Yeah, it takes it as two different screens. Wait, let me first give you the main screen. Make it a little bit smaller. So actually here, do you see it?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So this part is in Dutch. So here you just have every line in that grid is a task which has been assigned to a worker. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the grid is just an overview, the status of the task. Has it been received by the smartphone? Has it been deleted by the dispatcher? Has that deletion been received by the smartphone, and so on? Can it be deleted? Because if it is a task that comes from an external system, then it's the external system that has to delete it. Then you cannot delete it on the dispatching. Then here you have the worker, you have the customer. When does he has to start the task? What is the task description? Where he has to go, and some remarks and some machines he has to take with him. So from here he has buttons like delete it, but now it tells me, yeah, that one you don't see probably. It tells me it's an external task, so you cannot delete it. I can also not edit it. I can copy it. Yeah, if I click on copy, then I can just make another task that is based on the first one. And I can just add a new one. But if do you see the new window now?
No, I still see the
No.
grid.
Okay, so Then I will stop this sharing and I will share. That's not nice in oh, where's my application now? I stopped my application, yeah. Start it again. Refresh, add one. Okay, go live. So
Okay.
now you should see the window which I
Yes.
copied to you, but it is a live version, so that's in Dutch. So we have, that's the customer where the worker has to go. So either they just select one, either they just type, if I type Jan, well, my first name, you find a lot of companies which have some way Jan in their name. And you see the address where the yard, where they have to go. So for example, if I select this one, then the address will be filled in the yard location.
Yeah.
Then the task is, for example, go do some work. When do we have to go? For example, let's say that's for Wednesday at 2:00. I can add some remarks, have fun, and then I can select who has to go there. So if I say, okay, take Jan, then some machines, for example, there is already one with an F, and then a machine with a D, or a defender, I don't know, a car, and something with an S, Kettingzaag, that's to cut trees. So all these things, and then say save, and then it will be a new line in that display. So
Okay.
I try to extend the model to make this screen work. Of course, I started too late, so I never finished it. But I did find some things that where I have questions.
Excellent. Yeah, this is there's a lot of facts that need to be recorded when you hit save there.
Yeah,
because you can change. It looks like you can change the address. You could update the address of a location.
Well,
is that true?
Well, you can update the address here. But so this here you select a customer which is in the file. But even if that address is not correct, for example, you say, oh, it's not number 13, it's number 56. You can just update it here.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you could be potentially saving that fact. You could also be, you will definitely be saving the task. And then it looks like it's optionally an assignment. You could leave the assignment field blank, I'm assuming.
Yes, here the worker. Yeah, you don't have to fill that out. Once you select, you cannot go back. But you can just register the task without a worker assigned. And if the scheduled date is almost reached, so in the overview screen, it will turn red and it will tell you, oh, be careful. You have a task which has no worker assigned.
Yeah.
So it's a little screen with a lot of challenges.
Yeah. It looks like you can create about 4 or 5 different facts just on this one screen.
Yeah. So if we go to the Solution Explorer and we go see the major facts, for example, client. You see where I am in the Visual Studio?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So the client fact, that one we had already. The name of the client, that's we discussed about it last time. Now the client he doesn't need a normal address. We just need his invoice address. Because the address where we have to work, that's the address of the yard.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so there was a yard which has a client as a predecessor. And the yard has the address where he can go work. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it useful if I show you the model again, the graphical model from last time? Is that easy for you?
I think so far we're tracking pretty easily. As we get into the more complicated area, I think maybe that would be good.
So the address, I changed it in the invoice address because, of course, a client needs to be invoiced. And one of the things which I would like to be easier, look, I have name here. I have address here. So I said, why do I call it invoice address? I already have client as a predecessor. I might just call it address. But if I have a yard, which has a property address, and I have a client which has a property address, then I have two records with the same name, and he's not happy about it. And that might make things just short or more compact.
Yeah. So this record would be called client address, and the other one would be called yard address. So I think that would disambiguate it as far as the compiler is concerned.
Yeah. For the moment, I have no choice. So, okay, here it's invoice address, but imagine that it would also be client address. That it would just, then I have to call it here client address, and with the yard, I have to call it yard address.
Yes.
I cannot just say, for example, dws.client.address and dws.yard.address. And then have a record which is just address in both cases.
Yeah. I could think of. I'm not sure if I.
Work with
I'm
the
not sure if I like this idea.
namespaces.
But yeah, that's what I was thinking. You could define. I mean, so we've already got the namespace as dws.core.model, which makes sense when you compare this with other code that's in the project, because other codes can also be in a namespace. So it might be that you can alias that namespace when it's used, and then you can use that alias dot and then get into a smaller namespace like .client.
I could do this .client and then everything that is below that. So just make it address here. So then I have a record address in the client namespace, and I will have a record address in the yard namespace. But
I
don't know. It was just I don't know whether it's better than it is now. I was just thinking, is there not an easier way to keep everything more compact?
Yeah, the idea that I'm ultimately shooting for is that you should be able to declare some sort of an extension method. At some point in C# we're going to have extension properties, I believe, and so basically you've got another bit of syntax that puts a pattern on top of a record. So if, for example, you had an extension method that you could that was generic, so you could then apply it to client, then it would declare within it the address property record, and then this is where C# is not quite powerful enough to do what I'm thinking. You should be able to give that extension, whatever form that takes, the parameters that in this case become the record parameters, and then it generates the appropriate type, and then makes that look like a value object on client, so you could actually access it as client dot address. And in fact, you would be accessing an instance of client whenever you do that, or maybe you would, similar to how conditions can be added to a record. Maybe there's some kind of a mix-in mechanism that that can just be added to the record, and then you can just basically have some sort of a combinator that takes the rote type of code and generates it. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work yet. So I don't want to.
The record is immutable, so
yeah.
So if we put a subtype of record which is not immutable.
Yeah. So it definitely has to just generate the immutable code. And one of the things that I did in correspondence, as you know, is I added the mutable keyword, and because I was using a code generator, it was able to generate a class that represented an immutable fact, and then that also generated a property on the object that made it act as if it were mutable. But I had to go through a lot of hoops in order to, first of all, make it look like it's a singular property, but then secondly, give you all the capabilities you needed in order to know what the candidates were, and to make mutation of that property safe and all that stuff. It was a bit of a hack. I think I can do better. But I'm taking that slowly because I don't want to make a decision now that would end up being difficult to reverse later.
No, but and we keep it for the moment like this.
Mm-hmm.
It was just something that got into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what else did we have here? I only have 3 screens. That's not enough. Okay. So then dispatcher supplier we already had. Then task. On task I added a lot of things here. So that's just the task with supplier month created by. Just a description of the task, which is mutable. The schedule, which is mutable. Task is done. I added a datetime because I want to undo is done, and then I can create another is done. The task work for which client is that task? With an undo. You have to go to which yard with an undo, and you have to bring which tools with an undo. So it's getting immediately quite big.
Yep. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I've experienced that myself. And when I implement historical modeling on top of a relational database, I end up with this explosion of tables and all these foreign keys, and have to make a diagram in order to keep track of things. Which, at first definitely causes some confusion and people want to go to something simpler. So it's I think this is something again that we can address with a combinator. We can generate some of these records. I think this would be an easier pattern to generate than the immutable property pattern, so it might be the first one that I take on.
Now, as long as you can visually, with graphics, you can display it nice, I think there is no problem. But I see if I put this in graphics, then you get a mess of lines which overlap.
Yeah.
Last time I still managed with a little bit changing in graphics to put it nicely. But if you add this, it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps we should, in one or the other way, be able to show it in subgraphs. To keep an overview.
Yeah.
But okay, it's
yeah. One of the things that if you use Janaga.graphiz in order to generate the graph, when you say I want a type graph, you give it a list of types, and so those are the leaves of your graph, yeah. And then it includes all of the predecessors. So one thing that I anticipate people doing is having several different graphs that focus on different areas, and so they have different leaves. And you'll see the predecessors repeated in those graphs, so you can kind of see how they're related. But yeah, I can definitely see the need for that. You definitely need to break things apart. And we might be able to even do something like you did with the diagram, where you used color coding in order to say we're applying this pattern here, and that cleaned things up a bit.
Now the thing is that graphics is in the syntax is in code, in VS Code, and not in Visual Studio. So you have to copy from one to another if you want to display it. But
okay, no. Yeah, that's a tooling problem that we can solve as well. So one question about the the task work for fact here. So here you're saying that this is task for a particular client. This model makes it possible. Even it basically encourages having a task for multiple clients. Is the intent here for the task to be for a single client?
That's a good question. Can we have a task for different clients at the same time? Why did I do it that way? Because otherwise we could just make client a predecessor of task instead of using that work for fact. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that would be one solution, and that would mean that you know at the time you've created the task who the client is, and you cannot change that. And that sounds like it's true for this model.
Yeah,
but even if that wasn't true, there would be another way to do that and make task work for a mutable property. So where client is itself the value. I think I call that the reference pattern. Reference is basically a mutable property where the value is another predecessor. And then that at least indicates that you intend for this to be just one client, and then you replace that client with another one, even though the model can't strictly enforce that. But yeah, so if you want to strictly enforce it, then make it a predecessor, and then all of the constraints that come with that.
No, the reason I did it that way, often these clients, they have not one company, but they have officially multiple companies.
Yeah.
For example, one company that owns their machines, one company that owns their buildings, and another company that takes care of the people who work there. So that if something goes wrong and they have a customer who puts in a claim, it's only one of their companies who takes the risk. So the company that works and that take the risk will own nothing. And they will just rent the material from their other company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the operating company, if there is a claim, if they do something wrong and they get a claim, well, they own nothing. So they can just go bankrupt. They start another one, and their machines, the building, everything they own will be safe.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So if a customer calls in and he say, okay, can you do that for me? Often they take the wrong company to invoice because they have the different. So which one is the one who has to pay? And then afterwards they say, oh, they get in the written order, say, oh, it was the wrong one, and they want to change it. So that's why I did it this way. But so you prefer to have the mutable pattern?
Yeah, I would recommend that because you talked about one decision, one event where they changed from one client to another, and the mutable property pattern or the reference pattern captures that as a single fact. Whereas with this one, you would have a task work for undo and a task work for in order to capture that event. And then those two things are not causally related to one another. So, so you could issue both of those facts at the dispatcher machine, but then receive only one or only the other at some other machine, and for that period of time, things would look really strange. You would have a task that's doesn't have a client, or you'd have a task that has two clients, and neither one of those is the intent.
Yeah. Okay, and that reference pattern.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember how that one worked. So that's just a mutable property of task that you say, which points to client.
Right. Exactly.
So it should be like
Entity reference, page 265.
take the book to 65. So we have an entity, we have a reference entity, which can be null, and we have prior. Okay, so we have the entity here will be task, and the referenced entity will be client. It's just the other way around because there is a prior. Oh, no, it's like this, huh? Yeah. Let's see. So this should be prior like this, and that goes to task workflow.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to be updated on my screen.
Oh, it's brackets. Is it updated on your screen?
No, it isn't. But yeah, we did find that that live share sometimes isn't 100% live, and we also found that it's not eventually consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, last time it really made a mess of it. Because I found somewhere below in the code, I found the things that you typed afterwards. I said, oh, here everything got messed up because in between a sentence, then things you typed. So it was absolutely not consistent.
Yeah, there's a paper I can recommend called Tree Doc that the team could read. It's the algorithm that Google Docs is based on.
Mm-mm. I think Microsoft, they should be watching Google as well. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I think their people know about Mark Shapiro and the work that he's done. So it's kind of surprising to see that that bug. It's like, wait a minute, no. When you implemented this feature, you should have done that research. You should have found that paper. And if you'd implemented that paper, then it would have been.
You should have this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is it updated in meanwhile? Or
no, I'm not seeing an update, but I'll close it and open it again. I'm able to open tasks and able to open the
live
file.
share.
I wonder if there's a...
It says recent contact. You are under the recent contacts, but not under participants. Can it be that I'm still sharing, yeah?
Yeah, I'll refresh the browser because it's actually live share inside of a browser. And so it's rejoining the collaborative session.
Now I get a message that you joined.
Okay, and it looks like it's updating now. There we go. Now I see it. Okay. So, task work.
It was too easy in the beginning.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah. Have to go all the way around the globe.
Yeah.
All right. Task client,
So
task work for...
and is that correct now?
Yep. In the book, I do mention the reference being nullable. So I don't know if that's what we want in this case, but the reason for that is that, like in this case, you start with a task, and you can have a task without a task work for. And so if you were to interrogate that model, you would say, oh, there's no client for this task. And then as soon as you see a task work for, now there is a client for this task. And you can never get back to a state in which you don't have a client for the task. So I, in general, in the pattern, I make that client would have a question mark after it, so that you can always return to a prior projection. But if that projection is not one that you intend in the first place, then it's really just kind of an accident of the model that you start there and you transition away from it. So I guess the simple way to ask that question is, does it make sense to ever have a task that's not for a client?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think they might want to leave it out in the beginning in exceptional situations. So we might put a nullable type there.
Yeah. So it's not your ideal target situation, but if you make a mistake and you select a client, you want some way to be able to unselect it to say, hey, wait a minute, I still need to figure this out. Yeah. So I think that's right.
And does it apply for other things as well? For example, the go to a yard. In fact, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
I'm trying to imagine why you would explicitly want to say, for this one task, go to these 2-3 yards. Um,
yeah, yeah.
mm,
No, that's necessary. That's necessary.
okay.
Some of the clients, they have multiple fields,
Mm-hmm.
and a task could be go put some what do they call it in English? When they put shit on the on the ground.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, compost or
yeah,
yeah, fertilizer.
compost,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
fertilizer. That's the word.
Yep.
They have to put some fertilizer on all of these fields,
Mm-hmm.
so they have to go from one location to another.
Yeah.
So there you might need multiple. So then you have to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The tools, you might have to bring multiple tools.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense.
Go to workflow. So actually, then this I can just comment without. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is done is correct.
Yes. Yeah, that
Okay,
makes perfect sense. Okay. Yeah,
that's good.
I think that's an improvement.
I never thought about that one, and indeed.
Yeah,
So
and
we have.
these kinds of questions, and then thinking through the consequences. That's precisely the modeling that I want to see analysts doing with clients. Yeah, this
Mhm.
yeah, and this is actually one of the reasons that I'm a little bit hesitant to rush into making things easier and making fewer fewer classes or turning them into patterns, because that also kind of hides or kind of sweeps under the rug the consequences of these fine detailed decisions. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so making things look a little bit too much like object-oriented programming makes you just think in terms of object-oriented programming, and yeah, so I do prefer this myself, even
Mhm.
though it is a bit more verbose.
Just adding here a small remark because otherwise I'm gonna forget it. Uh, because we cannot have more than one client uh, task. And that was page 200. What was it? 262? No, it was
Yeah,
not that.
265, I think it was. 265. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Um, Okay, that's good. Those yard here. So yard, just a unique thing. So I added datetime created. So I can have multiple yards for a client.
Mm-hmm.
And then a yard has an address. Of course, a yard can also have a kind of name. Yeah. But I thought here, the address, the name, even instructions. Here behind I put here remark. For example, a remark might be to enter you have to go to enter by the left side.
Mm-hmm.
The worker that goes to that field, there might be multiple accesses. They come with big machines, so they might need instructions specific for that yard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all this data belongs in one fact. of course, we could say the address, which is just the street, the number, postal code. We put it apart, and then apart a name and a description, and everything is mutable. But in this case, I think we should put everything together.
Yeah.
Do you agree there, or?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I might consider breaking apart would be the remark. I'm trying to think about would you change the remark without having changed the name and the address? And if I think of it just in a more general case, I might say yes. In this specific domain, then the answer might be no.
I think it's a task will have a remark. Yeah. And that's something that's changing frequently for every task. But the moment that a yard is involved, the yard itself has some specific information. It's more information about the yard.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's not something that is related to the task. It's really something about the yard, and
right.
that's not changing frequently.
Yeah, and I think the thing that kind of clinches it for me that you've got the right model here is that if you were to change the address, and whether that be for for data correction, or if somehow this yard moved, or maybe the government changed the naming of the street, or that sort of thing. So if you had a change to the address, it would probably be accompanied with a remark change, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Because even the remark might just be GPS coordinates. Some of these areas, they even don't have real addresses. They don't have house numbers. It's just big areas. And in that case, the street and the number will be empty, but it will be a GPS coordinate, probably in the remark.
Okay. And given that, do you think it would be worthwhile to elevate that to its own field within this fact, or pair of fields, so that
GPS?
Yeah. So that now the application knows what to do with it. Say, oh, that's GPS, so I can put that on a map.
Is there somewhere a standard? Because an address, for example, in France, all the postal codes are just numeric. Belgium also. In Holland, they can have letters in it. In America, you see this word county. So all these addresses are different.
Yeah.
Is there somewhere an international standard where you have these fields and these lengths, and where also GPS coordinates are?
If there
a
is,
data structure.
It would be an ISO standard. So
Or
that's
it would be
where I would go.
in a book of Martin Fowler.
Yeah, probably. So, I use ISO standards for currencies and for dates and those sorts of things. I haven't looked to see if there's an ISO standard for addresses.
Oh, I can look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got me curious now. Yeah, it looks
perhaps
like
it's something that you know by heart.
no. When I was working for a financial technology company, I had the currency ISO standard number memorized because we talked about it all the time. But it looks like this one is 19160.
1960. Let's see what it is. Addressing tool model. Starts and then published. I don't see the standard here.
Mm.
Oh, it's still okay. It's 57 pages. Okay, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not a
And
standard that you can just see on the internet. That's always nice about standards. They hide them to make sure it doesn't become a standard.
yeah, because that would start to cause confusion.
Yeah, I will have a look at that. Oh, but it might be useful to have a separate GPS.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that, but then you have latitude. But then you also could have a Google coordinate. Yeah, these short codes which you see in
Yes.
Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
Or people might be using a different type of coordinates.
Mm-hmm.
For example, here in France, the fire people, they are using different coordinates, or you have what is it, UMT coordinates. So yeah, which structure do you have to use to be universal?
Right. Yeah.
But I will look it up and come up with some solution. Anyway, I didn't foresee it in the old software, in the one that currently is used, and it still works.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So I think I have all the elements now to make a specification. Then I started some specification, but immediately I had some trouble here with this error here. Could not find an implementation of the query pattern for the source type iQueryable yard. Why is he? And in the previous one here, if I uncomment that one, which is just a very simple query.
Mm-hmm.
Now I must say in this, I don't use the NuGet packed here. I'm just referencing the DLLs from Jinaga.net directly.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Um,
actually how
and that,
I do most of my development, so that way I can debug into it and make changes. And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I was wondering, the NuGet packet, you could add what is it, source link or link source in it,
Yes.
so that you can. But
Yeah.
apparently, it was not activated for Jinaga.
Right. Yeah, I researched that for I think it was for Assisticant, and it was still pretty young at that time. So yeah, I need to go back and redo that research. Yeah, but yeah, it looks like, oops, I I hit F12 in order to follow a definition, and it brought up the developer tools.
So you're really working in the browser.
Yeah.
You want to follow which one? Of type or facts?
Yeah, I was trying to follow yard just to make sure that it understood that was the record, but I can see from just hovering over it, it's the record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes indeed to the correct.
Mm-hmm.
So that is correct. We go back.
Yeah. Let me.
And of type is okay.
Yeah. So I hit build so that I can see the error message myself. Yeah, but I'm not seeing the build output. So what was the error message you said?
The message that it gives here: could not find an implementation pattern for source type iQueryable met with type client, and then where not found. So the where equals not found, but where is it there?
Maybe. Maybe using system.link is necessary.
Put it already in the, yeah.
Yeah, I just typed that in. So.
Yeah. And then what is he doing here? Cannot implicitly convert. Probably something wrong here. Wait, first of all. Like that. Given supplier, but this one is fine already. So the problem should be solved. Here, given a supplier, match supplier facts from yard in yards of type yard, where yard.client.supplier equals supplier, select supplier, no, select yard.
Okay.
Yard, yeah. Okay, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is a not helpful error message.
Yeah. And then I got on the challenging one. Here is make one that gives me. If you look at that, you still have the stream, I think.
Yeah, it's lagging a bit. I see you changing supplier to yard now. I'm gonna go ahead and hit refresh so that it can maybe catch up.
Yeah, but on the stream itself, you still have the application.
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah. So for that first, combo box data grid view here, what we need is the client, the name of the client, and the address of the yard. So that's a query like we discussed last time, where we have multiple elements in the projection.
Yes.
So multiple elements in the projection and even a yard. Then I go back to the predecessor, the client, and the client I need a mutable, the name of that client.
Yep.
And I also need the address of the yard.
Yeah, so that's going to be 3 levels deep with some bifurcation in there. Yeah.
So that means if I would just put it in a function here, that specification, I start from a supplier, but I'm not getting out a yard there. I'm getting.
Yeah. So
what am I getting out? A record with multiple elements.
Yeah. So for that, I will usually define a class with properties. It should be possible to do that as a record as well. Yeah, in fact, I don't know why I didn't try to do that as a record. That makes, I think that makes more sense. But yeah, you define your own type, and then where you're saying select yard, instead you say select new yard projection might be the name of the type. And then you assign the fields in there. So if it's a class, it's your class initializer. If it's a record, then parentheses, called the constructor.
But we could just start with var for the moment. Then it will take automatically the correct type.
Only if it's inside of a method. We can't use var at the top level for declaring statics. It would be really nice if we could.
Yes. So we can do it like this.
Yeah, it's
There we're gone. And then we can still play with it further.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, one thing about that then is that once you get it the way that you want it, then you can actually just hover over var, or even use the refactoring tool to turn that into an explicit type declaration, and now you know what the type is.
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Mm.
I never intended for people to actually have to type out the specification type, but yeah, in order to do this kind of composition, you end up doing that. Unfortunately, it's not too bad.
Because I thought it would be nice just to have the specification in a different folder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the specification folder. And yeah, then they just become functions.
Yeah.
So I have to put this type here.
Yeah. So there. Hmm. I'm trying to think about taking advantage of new C# features that are coming up, and also what would this look like in F#? I've actually been tempted to translate Janaga.net to F#. The code is getting a little bit complicated and hard to follow, and some serious refactoring is needed. So why not change the language while I'm at it? But yeah, so F# does really good type inference, and so and it's got top level functions, and so you can just declare functions that have within them specifications, and then be able to use those with function composition. So so you might even be able to just declare a specification at the top level of an F# file, and then it infers the type, and now that specification is available for other specifications that you define further down. And I think maybe with C# top level statements, you might be able to get there as well. So that would be interesting.
Well, I've never worked in F#, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for the moment.
It's a learning curve, yeah. And there's already enough learning curves here.
Yeah, because last time I said I want to try Visual Studio 2022 with Maui,
Mm-hmm.
the previews. But in the end, I say perhaps better start with the 2019 version with Xamarin like it is today,
Mm-hmm.
because they postponed to second quarter of 2022. And in the end, we are going to have nothing that works.
Mm.
While if we just start with the technology we have today, to change or to upgrade to Maui should be, I hope they will not make it too difficult.
Yeah.
But at least we can have something stable now.
Mm-hmm.
Why people are calling me? It's an holiday today. They should not be calling me.
Oh, is it?
It's an holiday today. But
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, here we call it All Saints Day, but yeah, because Halloween was yesterday. But I don't know if that's the same holiday that you're talking about.
All Saints, yeah, it's probably Anakin here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it should. But that means it's holiday over there also.
We don't take it as a holiday, and in fact, very few people even recognize or celebrate it. It's celebrated a little bit more within the Catholic Church, but the funny thing is that the All Hallows Eve, Halloween, is something that we as a community celebrate, and we decorate for that, and then children go out and knock on doors and ask for candy. So, A little bit
No,
less
Halloween.
this year than in years past. Last year, the CDC said, don't do any trick or treating, and so we didn't. But um,
No, we had yesterday a very big party in the village here for Halloween.
excellent.
Because Halloween was something that was not known in yeah Europe as a whole. I don't know, but in Belgium, in France, but it came over from America, I think, and now it's a big party. Um, yeah, that was another thing I was wondering. So, if we make this query or
Mm-hmm.
whatever query, and then we have to sort the results, yeah,
Mm.
because so in here the results are sorting on name. Does that mean that the query that we get from Jinaga, which is an INumerable, then we are just gonna have the extension method sort by from link
Yeah.
applied to it? Or
Um, yeah. So the currently the Janaya.net query provider doesn't recognize um, sort, um, and I think I might keep it that way. I'm not really sure, because what I what I want you to do is to do the sorting after you've done the query. So if you're doing j.query, then you get back your query results, and um, and then you can go ahead and sort those. But if you're doing j.watch, then what happens is you're getting notified anytime something is added, and within that notification, it's there's really no good way for me to say you're adding this to the end, I'm inserting it in the middle, that sort of thing. Um, and so I'm thinking that I'll want you to have something after that does the sorting. So so it could be like, for example, you do j.watch and you insert into an observable collection, and then your view model does the sort on that observable collection before it then makes that visible to the view.
displays it? Yeah,
Yeah.
but that means for larger collections, like a take and a skip, is not going to be handled on database level.
Yeah. If you so the way that I see that working is that on the server you would have a specification that you do a j.watch, and then it inserts and updates and deletes a a database projection as you receive facts, and then in order to serve that API, the API would then query that database projection. It wouldn't query the facts directly, and it wouldn't use j.query, and then it could do the sort and the skip and the take.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you use the period pattern, most of the time you can already reduce the collection size. So that should be
Yep.
all right. We are.
Yep. Yet another
We are
case where
already
you
late.
are forced to make a call up front. Okay, I recognize that this is going to be a problem. How do I solve that problem? Oh.
He dropped me out
There you
anyway.
are. Yeah, I heard you say, "Oh, we're already running late," so it's like, all right, let's cut it off now.
No. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, I think that query, I'm gonna try it out. Now that the rest has been solved,
Excellent.
and then we will see where I get with that.
Yep. and I think you will find a new NuGet package up there, and the nested queries stuff has been merged in, so that supports
So that,
the unadded subscriptions within J.Watch to arbitrary depth. So so yeah, you can respond to facts being added. You can respond to facts being removed via existential conditions, and so yeah, the next thing that I want to work on right now is intelligent error messages, so that we can get a little bit of help. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if there's any way that I could intercept the problem that you just had, where you selected the parameter rather than selecting the iQueryable. So that would be an interesting one to take a look at. But yeah, basically you want to give people as much help as possible, and maybe even suggest code for them in the error message. That's what I'm going to try to do. We'll see if that actually works.
Copilot for Jinaga.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but like here, just using link, it's if you know, it's easy. But if you don't know that, the error message is not helping at all there.
Right. Yeah.
Or perhaps we could just have a little list. Try that. Try that. Try that. Try that.
Yeah.
But good error messages might be more useful. Okay, Michael, thank you very much.
Quite welcome, and thank you for giving this a try and let me see where the rough edges are.
You will be in daylight saving
Yes.
next.
Yes. So I will submit to the tyranny of daylight saving, and so we'll be 1 hour later. So
Okay, so
that'll be 13:30 UTC.
In UTC it stays the same.
No, UTC. Well, yeah, UTC doesn't honor daylight saving. So, yeah, because the company I work for does, I will sleep later, go into work a little bit later, and so we'll be at 13:30 UTC.
Okay.
But I will adjust the Google invitation, and so that should automatically adjust on your calendar.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
See you, Michael.
See you then.
Bye-bye.